So first off, really quickly, this is kind of off topic, but I think it's really cool. I'm recording this video in November of 2020. However, it's going to be released in January of 2021. Am I the only one that thinks that's cool? I don't know, I think that's really cool. Anyways, in today's episode, you see, Jedi and Sith have always been like enemies. They've always been enemies. And the Jedi and the Sith, because of their rivalry, have caused so many wars in the galaxy that are really pointless except for the fact that it was the Jedi trying to get back at the Sith or the Sith trying to get back at the Jedi. So, there's a lot of hate between these two groups. However, that would lead you to believe that the Jedi and Sith would always hate each other and would never ever be together. However, that's actually not always the case. There are some times and some circumstances that force Jedi and Sith to end up working side by side for a common cause. I'm going to be going through the top 5 in this episode of Star Wars Nerds and Geeks. So, we'll be going from the worst examples of Jedi and Sith working together all the way up to the best examples. So that's why at number 5 we have the Yuuzhan Vong War. Now, the Yuuzhan Vong were, if you saw my 108 Random Star Wars Facts video, you may have heard about them, but they were essentially a group of extraterrestrial beings from another galaxy that invaded the Star Wars galaxy. Now, the Yuuzhan Vong, they were highly adept, they were extremely skilled warriors, they were actually kind of separate from the Force, which is interesting. I'll talk all about that later. And what else? They were very dangerous, and so they threatened the galaxy, and this was such an immense threat that in the end, the New Republic and the remnants of the Empire, this is happening after episode 6, by the way, in Legends. So the New Republic and the remnants of the Empire was such a great threat that they had to work together. They set aside their differences and said, okay, you know what? I may not agree with you and you may not agree with me, but we're going to have to work together to deal with this threat. Otherwise, it's the end for all of us. So they worked together and they pushed back the Yuuzhan Vong. And so that's the first example of Jedi and Sith working together. And I put this at number 5 because it wasn't really Jedi and Sith working together. It was more the New Republic and the remnants of the Empire working together. However, they are still enemies, and the New Republic and the remnants of the Empire are kind of representations of the Jedi and Sith in a way. So I thought it was fitting for this list.
Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, we are a go. This is Imperial Officer Venturis. You may recognize me from the emergency broadcast system, where I explained how to identify a Wookiee hiding in an Imperial Stormtrooper's armor. Quick update on that. Most of the Wookiees have been captured and are returning to the prisons that they were originally meant to go to. So never fear, citizens of the Empire, for we Imperials will always have your back. Now I am here to quickly remind all valiant citizens of the Empire that the Sith do not rule us, so you do not have to fear the Sith, for they will not bust down your door and, quote, choke you to death with their hands, as the Galactic Times news article will have you believe. That is all fake news. The Sith are our friends. They do not rule us, but they are our friends. I will return you now to your previous program. Okay, I think I got it back running. Amy, we live?
Yes, and we are.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Alright, we're all good. Sorry about that. The Imperials must have hijacked the system again. I really need to get some better encryption codes on this. Well, so I just hope that doesn't happen again. But next, number 4, I wanted to talk about Rey and Kylo Ren. So, these two have a interesting relationship going on. I talk a little bit about that in this video on screen. But see, they are enemies, but not really enemies. It's complicated, but yeah, Kylo Ren and Rey. So they end up and this is in episode 8. This is when we start seeing the strange bond forming between them, and they end up on Snoke's command ship. And now Rey and Ben have a common cause. They have a common thing to fight for. They both want Snoke dead. I suppose that's a little harsh. Maybe Rey doesn't want him dead exactly, but they both don't like Snoke. And they both have like a kind of connection going. So boom, what do you know? Rey and Ren are suddenly teaming up. They don't have like an official kind of truce thing. Most of the topics, most of the team ups in this episode, there was no like official truth. It was more like an uneasy little thing that you're like, well, I'll do this if you do this, and we'll work together and we'll agree to not kill each other. And it's all just like really silent. Just you take in the situation, you do what's best, and the best thing to do is to work together. And both sides realize this without having to tell the other. So that's what happens. Rey and Ren. I keep wanting to call him Ben. Ben, Ren, Rey. Just so confusing. Anyways, Ren and Rey team up. They take out the Praetorian guards, and then and then Snoke is dead. So Snoke is dead. Praetorian guards are all dead. And so, they have teamed up against a common enemy, Snoke. So perfect. Why doesn't this make like number 1 or number 2? It's a really solid example. Well, for one simple technicality, and that is, well, Rey, this episode, remember, is all about Jedi and Sith teaming up. Rey is a Jedi, but then you go over to Ren and NG. Oh my gosh, another interruption. This video is so full of them. Hey, Darth Jade.
NG, cut the formalities. As you know, it is I, Darth Jade.
You don't have to introduce yourself every time.
But I do. It is a part of me. However, I heard you talking about Kylo Ren.
Yeah, I was actually just about to talk about him.
I don't care what you were going to say. You see, Kylo Ren may be a powerful Force wielder. He may be strong in the dark side. And he may be an excellent, or a sword fighter, an excellent sword fighter. However, he is no Sith. And I know you were just about to say that he was a Sith.
No, I wasn't going to say that he's a Sith.
Silence, NG. As I was saying, Kylo Ren is not a Sith. And this is all technicalities, but Kylo Ren in no way is a Sith. You see, the beloved Sith were wiped out at Endor when Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader died. I suppose it's a little complicated because the Emperor survived. However, we'll leave that out of it for now.
Thank you. It's a lot to work with.
Silence, NG. If I want you to interrupt me, I will ask you to. As I was saying, the Sith were eradicated at Endor, which is really, really sad.
Wait, one sec.
NG,
I know. I just want to ask. So if the Sith were eradicated, how are you still here?
don't ask questions, NG. That's what it feels like to be force choked. You're lucky you're still alive, NG. Now be quiet and let me finish.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so Kylo Ren is not a Sith because the Sith were all eradicated at Endor. He may be a powerful dark side user, however, he is not a Sith. The Sith is a species. They're a religion, a cult. It's a group of people that must be passed from master to apprentice. However, since the master and the apprentice died on Endor, there was no way for it to continue. So therefore, Kylo Ren is not a Sith. And that's all I have to say, NG. Have fun with this video. This is Darth Jade. See you guys.
Okay, I'm glad he's gone. But yeah, like he said, Kylo Ren technically not a Sith, which is why this takes number 4, because this is a prime example of two opponents teaming up against a common enemy. However, technically, Kylo Ren's not a Sith, so it doesn't really fit in the Jedi and Sith teaming up. But, just all technicalities. And clocking in at number 3, we have another Legends one. This one is from the era of the Old Republic. So, this happens, the Republic and the Empire have just formed a kind of treaty called the Treaty of Coruscant, which hopefully I'll talk about in a later video. It's an interesting thing. Anyways, Treaty of Coruscant, it kind of ended the fight between them, leaving it at a stalemate. Suddenly, new information about something mysterious was revealed. The Hutts have this information. Who knows what it is, but the Hutts say it's very important and it's very valuable. And they say they'll sell it to the highest bidder. So now, the Empire and the Republic send delegates over to see what this information is and to bid on it. However, there are also Jedi and Sith that are coming over to find this information. There's actually people from everywhere coming over. Jedi, Sith, New Republic, Empire, spies, traitors, Mandalorians, bounty hunters, everyone wanted a piece of this information. So they all gather, and what ends up happening is the Jedi and the Sith see each other right as they're trying to steal this information. So the Jedi and Sith see each other, and they end up fighting each other. But then what happens is a Mandalorian comes in and third parties them. So now the Jedi and the Sith don't really team up, but they kind of each decide that the Mandalorian is the most dangerous target, so they ought to go for him. So they kind of team up to take on the Mandalorian. However, as the three of them are in a kind of duel, what ends up happening is even crazier. So it's hard to explain what's happening, but essentially this information, it came in like a pod, and in this pod there is a miniature droid making facility, and this droid making facility is pumping out droids called hexes. And what these hexes are is they are really, really powerful, really, really dangerous, and they seem indestructible. They're really hard to destroy. They're really dangerous droids. And so, the Mandalorian, the Jedi, the Sith, and everybody else that was in that area end up teaming up to take on these hexes. because again, Hexa is very, very dangerous. But yeah, that's about what happened. The Jedi, the Sith, and then some other people teamed up to take on the Hexes. And this is kind of similar to the Yuzhong Vong, because in the Yuzhong Vong, the Empire and Republic were fighting each other, and then in this, the Sith and the Jedi were fighting each other, and then in both of these scenarios, a more dangerous enemy appears, and so they create an uneasy alliance to fight that dangerous enemy. And once the dangerous enemy is gone, it's fair game. They can fight each other all they want. Yeah, that was number 3. No interruptions this time. That's good. And now we get to number 2, the top 2 times that Jedi and Sith teamed up in Star Wars. And I don't know if you noticed, but there's kind of a pattern growing. I went Legends, Canon, Legends, and then it's going to go Canon, Legends. I didn't mean for that to happen, but sometimes things just happen like that. So, this is from the Clone Wars TV show from about halfway through the first season, I think. So what's happening is Anakin and Obi-Wan end up trying to capture Count Dooku. Count Dooku escapes onto this moon, so Anakin and Obi-Wan follow him to that moon. And then on this moon, Count Dooku tricks Obi-Wan and Anakin and escapes. However, the way he escapes is on a ship full of pirates, Weequay pirates, led by the infamous Hondo Ohnaka. Hondo Ohnaka is a very, very infamous pirate that shows up in the Clone Wars and Rebels TV series a lot. And also, if you've ever been to Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland and you go to the Millennium Falcon ride and wait in that very long line, you'll see Hondo Ohnaka on an animatronic of him. It's really, really cool. Anyways, that was a tangent. Count Dooku is on the ship full of pirates, and the pirates end up capturing Count Dooku. Don't ask me how, but they're very resourceful people. So the pirates are able to capture Count Dooku, and now they have Count Dooku held up in a cell. And so Hondo talks to the Republic and says, "Hey, I have Count Dooku. You pay me a bunch of spice," which was kind of like drugs, I think. But he says, "If you pay me a bunch of spice and money, I'll give you Count Dooku." So the Republic's like, "Oh, sweet, we'll do that." But they say, "First, we need to make sure that Count Dooku is there." So they send none other than Anakin and Obi-Wan to go to the planet that Count Dooku is on, where he's being held by Hondo, on the planet Florum. So Anakin and Obi-Wan arrive on Florum to see that Count Dooku is truly there. But then Hondo goes, "Whoa, I have a really good business opportunity here." And so he drugs Anakin and Obi-Wan and ends up putting them with Count Dooku in the same cell. And of course Hondo does this because he's a businessman. He's like, well, if I get a lot of money and a lot of spice for one Sith, imagine how much I could get for one Sith and 2 Jedi. That's like triple the profit. It's incredible. The one time that pirates want to do math, it's to get more money. So this time we have Count Dooku, Anakin, and Obi-Wan all trapped together. They're all weaponless. However, they realize they can team up. They team up. They sneak out of their cell and they walk around the facility trying to escape. And this was probably, in my opinion at least, one of the most uneasy team-ups, because Anakin and Obi-Wan have been hunting down Count Dooku for a long time. They finally get him, but now they have to team up with him. And they've been fighting each other for so long. They kind of really don't like each other. Count Dooku's done a bunch of terrible things to them, and Anakin and Obi-Wan have no doubt been a nuisance to Count Dooku. I mean, as Count Dooku says, that he would totally kill Anakin and Obi-Wan if it didn't mean he had to drag their dead bodies along with him, because they're tied up. So they end up working together in what is my opinion the most uneasy alliance. And they try to escape, and sadly they fail. However, in the end, Jar Jar Binks, the brilliant commander Jar Jar Binks himself, who is not a Sith Lord at all, ends up rescuing them. And now we get to number 1, the number 1 time that Jedi and Sith teamed up. And I long debated about where to put this, whether number 5 because of the circumstances or number 1 because of how it ended up. But I ended up putting it in number 1 because this is one of my favorite examples of Jedi and Sith teaming up. So this all comes from Legends, from the Lost Tribe of the Sith Collected Stories book. And if you saw my 108 Random Star Wars Facts, you'll maybe recall that there was, in Legends, a planet of Sith Lords. All these Sith Lords got trapped on this planet for thousands of years. Planet called Keth. So, on Keth, all these Sith Lords have been captured. All these Sith Lords have been stranded on Keth. However, and no one knows that they're there. So, all these Sith Lords have been on Keth, thousands of years that they are in there. So, at some point, what happens is this Jedi crash lands onto the planet. Now, no one knows that he's a Jedi, but this Jedi, his name is Jelf, which is a really interesting name. But he is crash landed on this planet full of Sith Lords. And Jelf is thinking, oh shoot, I gotta get back to Coruscant and tell everyone that there's a giant planet full of Sith Lords here. But he can't escape because the planet that they're on, Kesh, it's not a very easy planet to get off of. The meteor showers and the gravitational pull and everything pulls ships in that get too close and refuses to let them leave. So, Jelf can't really leave. So what's happening is he ends up meeting this girl called Ori. And Ori and Jelf end up hitting it off and they become friends. So now Ori and Jelf. Ori, the Sith Lord, who has grown up on the Sith planet of Kesh, where she has been stuck there all her life. And Jelf, who is a Jedi who accidentally crash landed on Kesh. Now the two of them meet. And Jelf and Ori are starting to become friends. And eventually, Ori realizes that Jelf is a Jedi and crazy stuff. But what ends up happening is Ori and Jelf realize there's no way that they can escape Kesh. I mean, the planet, it's like a death trap. It's really hard to leave. You can't leave Kesh. So they realize, well, if we can't leave, why don't we just stay? So, Ori and Jelf end up living on Kesh, Jedi and Sith teaming up, and they end up kind of rejecting their backgrounds almost, and just living a life together in the jungles of Kesh. It's a very nice ending to their story, and yeah, it's very. I kind of like this story because it talks about how how Ori's Sith point of view and Jelf's Jedi point of view are kind of put together to create the best optimal solution, because Jelf would have stopped at nothing to escape the planet to tell all the other Jedi about the Sith because he's selfless, and Ori would have stopped at nothing to keep Jelf there because she is selfish as a Sith. However, they end up combining their Jedi and Sith ways, and they end up staying for the betterment of both of them. And they end up leading a really good life. Just the two of them, all alone on Kesh. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say, but I'm talking about this because it's one of my favorite stories. The Lost Tribe of the Sith, it ends up talking briefly about a bunch of stories just like this, where you get to know these characters and you like them, but then it just kind of forgets about them. So it never really talks about what happens to Ori and Jove after, but I can only assume that nothing really special happened to them, that they just led a really good life. Well, yeah, that is the ultimate thing that could happen if Jedi and Sith perfectly teamed up, is they could live an incredible life together forever. And speaking of together forever, I'm thinking about making a video coming up sometime soon about the Jedi that weren't together forever with the Jedi Order. I don't know, would that be interesting? Tell me in the comments if you think that's a good idea. But, yep, that is the top 5 times that Jedi and Sith have teamed up, both in Legends and canon. This is Star Wars Nerds and Geeks. Signing off. See you all next time.